Hey, everybody. Before we start this week, I want to talk about a live event that I have coming up with Spec. Join us on June 21st at 9 a.m. Pacific time for a live webinar on LinkedIn called Let's Really Talk About Orchestration and Customer Journey. The Spec team, Nate and Patrick, will be joining me live right there on LinkedIn, and we're going to talk all about their company, about what orchestration really means, about what customer journey really means, and why you should know about it and what it means for your fraud fighting future. In the meantime, please visit www.specprotected.com to learn more about the patented Trust Cloud and how it can help you out today. And even send them a little email and maybe get a demo that they'll show you right live on your own site. It's really cool. Hey everybody, welcome to a live version of the Fraud Boxer podcast. We are here today at the MRC 2023 in Las Vegas. I have one of my good friends here with me today. He's agreed to do this. I forced him to do it. He agreed to do this with me live here at the show. This is the first time I've ever recorded one live in person. So bear with me as I work through the audio on this episode. We're going to do a few of them here. Just kind of live from the ground, what's going on, what people are up to, what they're learning. This one's going to be slightly different here because I think this is something that a lot of people are curious about, people are scared about. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. There's obviously a lot of news about it. But I have Dave Senci here, who is the VP of Product Management at Mastercard for the crypto and NFTs. So yes, everybody, it's the crypto episode.
Thanks, Jordan, for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and it's awesome to be doing it here in live in Vegas at the MRC.
Yeah. So how's your conference going so far for you?
Actually, I'm excited to see that there's more Web3 native companies at the conference. There's been a fair bit more than I expected. So it's good to see the MRC, which is historically focused on payments and risk, start bringing that into the Web3 world. So it's been going well.
So I'm on the conference committee here for this particular one this year. They were nice enough to invite me to help with that. And I think that a lot of the focus of having these people like me, some new people in here helping guide the content is, I think there was a lot of feedback that it's great that we have a lot of new people in the industry that are first-time fraud payments people, but there are a lot of seasoned people here that need to see new emerging things and dive a little deeper into the weeds on what's happening. And Web3 obviously is I'm going to have you define that, but usually we think about that as crypto, NFTs, and those sorts of things. So what is your definition of Web3?
What a good question. So this is how I would position it. Web 1 was businesses putting content online for people to consume. I look at Web 2, my personal perspective is this is now individuals that are able to contribute content to these large businesses. You think of social media platforms.
I remember like 2007, like 6-7 was Web 2.0 really entered the lexicon, and it was a lot of like those sorts of websites, user-driven content, big buttons, nice, easy user experiences. So yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and then when I think of Web3, it is still user-generated content, but actually owned by the users and not an individual entity. So you're giving back the control to the consumer and with transparency, which is part of the reason why this lives on the blockchain, which is...
I was just going to say, it sounds like we're going to be talking about blockchain.
Yeah.
And we are at some point, I'm sure.
100%.
100%. We were making a joke about an old comedy bit earlier, so sorry, there's a little inside joke laughter there. So let's take it back a little bit here, because I don't like to just have random guests on at any time without any sort of context about who they are to me. So you and I met a few years ago. Obviously, when I was at Ticketmaster, we were pretty good partners with the Mastercard portfolio. And we have a lot of the Mastercard products when I was there. Now at iHerb, I still work with you a lot. We do panels together. We did the Mastercard Risk Conference last year in Miami.
Right.
We did a panel together. We had a lot of good time. We played some terrible rounds of golf. It was all around a good time. But how did you and I meet? What's the story there?
Yeah, so Jordan and I met as he said, he was one of Mastercard's customers. He had reached out wanting to get some additional support, understand additional products that Mastercard had. I was supporting some new data products, and offered to get in and come talk to Jordan. And Jordan and I originally met off literally a one-on-one conversation. Jordan said, "What's Mastercard doing? How can we better work together?" And that's how we first met.
And I think it's important for a lot of people that don't necessarily have these types of relationships with their partners. Is there's a reason that we call them partners, and especially when you're a large enterprise merchant, like you need to have real, honest, open conversations, and it's working together as a partnership, and spending time to nurture those relationships can help you out a lot, not just on better pricing, which is always what everybody wants, but helping understand what you could do to get more out of that partnership, whether it be help with authorizations, whether it be just better understanding of the product portfolio, better use of a product. Like you might have a product that you're paying for and you're not using it to the maximum ability. So I really encourage everybody to have these conversations, even if they start out as because something was wrong and you were trying to get it fixed and you're just trying to figure out who can help you with that. But maintain those relationships. It's not. These relationships shouldn't be transactional. They should be like
continuous.
Yes.
And it's one of the benefits we've had. So although we originally worked together on one specific product, as you said, we've done panels together, we've golfed together, you've purchased additional products across the board, and we continue to foster this relationship.
So since I've known you, you started out as a VP you were on the new data side specifically, right?
Yeah,
So,
I was within Mastercard's fraud department on the new data side.
And new data does behavioral biometrics. It's kind of a passive biometric product. It's a pretty cool product for people that don't know. Like I definitely encourage you if you have any curiosity about biometrics. I know it's a word that we toss around a lot, just like we do machine learning, but they have a pretty cool product that does passive biometrics, looking at lots of different data points. So I encourage you to reach out to people and ask more about that. So you started on that, but you have since transitioned into this crypto role. Now, obviously, I think when you transitioned into this crypto role, crypto was on fire. They were everywhere. It was doing really, really, really well. Over the last year, it's had a little bit of volatility. I think a lot of us have watched the news. We see the FTX thing happening, but I think it's really interesting that Mastercard specifically, as known as this big credit issuer network, that we all have something in our wallet that's related to them, is focusing on crypto. And I definitely would like to know about what your role is and what you do specifically and what Mastercard's into in crypto and what that means for you and what your day looks like.
Yeah, a lot of good questions and points there, and I like that you kind of highlighted some of my career that I had done at Mastercard. And I actually want to back up before I get into that specific question. So payments, right? So that's what you and I are in today. I got into payments candidly because out of college I needed a job.
Yeah, I think that's how we all got it.
Yeah,
we never were we're going into payments.
No, we did not. So in 2010, I applied for Mastercard. I started out in our technology team where I was literally writing code for 6 hours straight. It was better than I make it sound, but that's where I really took time to learn and understand payment processing and all the data associated with it. From there, I shifted over to fraud product. That's where I started working with companies like New Data, other merchant products that Mastercard offered, and spent a lot of time there. And during the pandemic, during 2020, I actually found myself scrolling through TikTok, and I came across a horse racing game. And I was intrigued, and I had no idea what I was watching.
Is this like that Japanese game where it's it looks like it's on a horse racing track, but there's different things?
So I'm not sure if that's the exact one, so I looked into this and I started researching it. And what I found out, this was actually NFT horse racing done on the blockchain. And I was super intrigued. I'm like, how does this technology work? Why is it all over the internet? And I started looking into it. So much so that I started buying NFT horses, breeding them, trading them, racing them.
You can breed an NFT horse.
You can. There's so much you can do with NFTs.
Does it grow up like a gigapet?
You can continue to race them after their. I think you have to wait 14 days. But this was back in 2020.
Okay.
So I was very intrigued by the whole concept of blockchain, NFTs, crypto. What could you actually do in that space besides just horse racing? So I actually decided to make a career shift, wanted to stay within Mastercard, and found out we had a crypto team. This was in late, probably mid 2021, and I officially moved over to Mastercard's global crypto team in December of 2021, and I've been there since.
So let's talk about your team then. Let's talk about what that team does specifically and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, let's get into that. So my team, we head up products specifically for on and off ramps in and out of Web3. So what does that mean? That means getting money into the ecosystem and getting money out of this ecosystem. That's crypto cards that you see in the space. that is working with large crypto exchanges, large NFT marketplaces to better enable card acceptance. So if somebody wants to buy an NFT, they can easily do it with a card or crypto. We give them choice. Mastercard's obviously not offering to be able to purchase goods with crypto directly, but we want to be able to have them have choice to be able to buy these with a card. Additionally, that works for NFTs and crypto. So my team focuses on the acceptance front, the crypto card front, and it's in and out of Web3. So it's bringing what Mastercard does to the Web3 space.
And then you guys obviously have an excellent infrastructure because your MasterCard, networks have to have a good infrastructure. So I could see how that would be something. So let's dive down another layer into specifically what is crypto, what is an NFT, and then I know like what we call it fiat currency, right, is regular money. So let's kind of define those things just so when we start jumping back and forth in terms, if the listener is unfamiliar, they're probably not listening to a crypto episode if they're not.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, yeah, let's cover some core basics. So when I think of blockchain, it's the simplest way I can describe it is it's a database that is made open and available to everyone. And there's multiple copies of it across the web. So that way it's very difficult to spoof it or fake it. So it's essentially an open, distributed ledger database that anyone can go view and see who owns what or what types of transactions happen. So that's how I call it what a blockchain is. Crypto is a specific type of digital currency that lives on that blockchain that can be used for commerce, can be used for a variety of things.
And you when you look at crypto, like if you had, we'll just say Bitcoin because that's what everybody always, it's the easy one that everybody knows. But when you have a coin, let's say you had a whole coin, it's the easiest way. It's on that blockchain. It exists on that blockchain. It has an identity. It has a token number. And then you send it to me. And then I, as a person, could see, or anybody can go and see that they had a digital identity that was yours, and then it went to me, and then if I sent it to somebody else, they can follow that whole journey of that one singular coin forever, can't they? All the way back to creation.
So it's not tied to individuals, it's tied to wallet IDs. And you don't know if that wallet ID is a specific person, you just know it's a wallet ID. But that is the concept of the ledger. You're 100% right. You can trace the history of a specific coin, a specific wallet ID, see what they do, what they interact. But that's also very beneficial from proof of ownership. So it's, hey, this specific wallet ID owns this, they have funds to cover this if we're talking about digital currencies. So there are benefits of having this distributed digital ledger that everyone can log into and validate specific transactions to see, hey, who owns this, who doesn't own this, what's the history of this?
Yeah. So one of the things that like I've tried crypto. I bought a Litecoin this is years ago, back in the initial craze. I worked at a company that we accepted Bitcoin for payments for gift cards. Yeah, but we used BitPay we instantly settled it into fiat currency. Like we didn't touch the coins. One of the downsides of that though is like some of the people in the world thought that we had our own wallet, so we were constantly trying to hack our site to see if they could find out if we had a whole bunch of coins in a wallet somewhere. This was back when Bitcoin was like $500. But one of the things that I am curious about as far as the blockchain and the ledger goes is obviously, is there one? Is there several? Like you said, there's a bunch of copies of it. Does each type of currency, cryptocurrency, have its own chain? Is there tell me a little bit more about that.
It's a good question. And when I talk about digital currencies, there's a variety of them, right? So you have stable coins, which are stable coins that are backed by a specific commodity. It could be gold, it could be a US dollar, it could be the British pound. It's always backed by something. There's different types of stable coins. You also have cryptocurrency, which are things like Bitcoin, Litecoin, the other type of cryptocurrencies we're talking about. And we also have CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. These are digital currencies that are introduced by governing bodies. For example, in the Bahamas, there's the San Bahamian dollar. So when people hear cryptocurrencies, they generally think of a volatile cryptocurrency where its price fluctuates drastically, like some of the ones we've talked about. But there's a variety of digital currencies. They don't have to be volatile. You can still get the benefit of the ledger and wallets and the transparency on other types of digital currencies. But back to your question around the blockchain, the wallet, are there several? The answer is yes. So there's different blockchains for different currencies, and there's different wallets for different currencies and different blockchains. So I almost personally, I like to look at this as the early days of a specific industry where the winner's not decided yet. and you don't know which one's going to win, but they each have their benefits and they each have their downsides.
Is there an ability to have? I think like a lot of the NFTs, the initial NFT craze, if I'm not mistaken, used Ethereum and the Ethereum blockchain.
That is correct.
So, is there a way? Do you see a world where there's ever a standard blockchain that multiple things are listed on, or does it have to be segregated by the type of currency that it's dependent on?
That's a really good question. I believe that there will be a few that last. Today, I think if you go to CoinMarketCap or Masari, you'll see that there's like 2,400. It may be significantly higher, different digital currencies, but I know it's well above 2,000. So then if you think about the number of blockchains, the number of wallets, I do think long term there will be a clear winner, but I think multiple exist because they each have their different benefits. So yes, definitely I think there'll be a clear winner, but I think there'll be multiple just due to the different use cases between each different wallet ID, each different chain. But there are some technologies that are coming together to kind of have like an aggregated view. So you can log into a platform and say, okay, I have this type of currency on here, I have these NFTs on this platform, and I all have them stored here.
So essentially you can get like, it's showing multiple different blockchains all in one single view, kind of like how we do on databases when we need to search those things. Yeah.
From a consumer perspective, yes.
That's interesting. Is there a lot of value for, like, I'm going through my head of scenarios, like when I would want to look at the chain. I think like if I was somebody that was like buying like NFTs and stuff, that I would definitely want to like to have proof that like it was really tied to your wallet ID, sending it to me and not a copy. Like everybody says, you can just copy the picture. And then,
yeah. So this is where we get into like the benefits and use cases of the underlying technology, the blockchain. And what I'd like to do is just think of examples in our everyday world, unrelated to crypto, where it would be beneficial to have an open ledger. My wife and I currently are building a house, and we had previously just bought land. And the process of sharing the deed, transferring the deed to someone else, showing all the paperwork that I have, then submitting my deed to a new entity, applying for a mortgage, all of these steps, if my documentation just lived on a distributed ledger, I could literally connect my wallet to these platforms, and they would even be able to quickly see that, yes, Dave is this wallet ID he provided me is the owner of this deed. And you can see benefits like that for the blockchain.
Are you seeing any local governments using the blockchain in a way like that?
Good question. Candidly, I guess that would be something outside of my expertise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very political answer you did right there. I like that. I used to work for a ticketing company, and it was news that we had invested heavily at that time into a blockchain technology. It does get utilized. I won't really say where it was utilized. That's kind of like a company secret there. But I know a lot of people have been very curious about how like blockchain technology would affect event ticketing, because then you can really prove ownership of a ticket and you can kind of track the life cycle of a ticket. But usually when you have that in event ticketing, there's more that's tied to just the blockchain because they want a little more data about it. The idea is, like the big theory that I think a lot of ticketing companies and a lot of venues were trying to solve was, they have like a 20,000 person arena and they don't really know who is in the building.
Right. Traceability.
Yeah, and like it's not necessarily just to like market to people, but if something goes wrong, they need to know who was in there. But the idea of like understanding and identifying your customer is really hard when people are selling just paper tickets outside to who knows who, before they go in. When if you have something that lives on a ledger, they can track the lifestyle of that ticket. And the same thing with airplane tickets, with like bus tickets, like they can track a more lifestyle, like holistic approach of what's happening and get a better understanding of their customers and what their customers are up to.
100%. I would also add something to what you said. So you referenced like people outside reselling items. Well, how do you validate that this is actually authentic, right? So there's companies that are doing this as well. Think of shoes, think of expensive bottles of liquor. How do you validate this? So what some companies are doing is they are putting the provenance of the original item on the blockchain. When you buy a physical item, let's say a signed jersey, there's a certificate of authenticity that's represented by an NFT. And that is your proof that this is a real item. And this lives on the blockchain.
So I want to play devil's advocate for that a little bit there. Because granted, you handed me a piece of paper for this jersey. But then I could go just write a random fake Kobe signature on another Kobe jersey and still pass that ticket, like that certificate with it, couldn't I?
So that is if there's nothing, devil's in the details, right? So that if there's nothing specific, on the item itself that links it to the NFT, you have a problem. But what some companies are doing is they're either putting NFC chips, specific barcodes, specific things that directly tie that NFT directly to the item. So yes, things can be counterfeited. Devil's in the details. If it's done not appropriately, properly, it shouldn't be a problem. So agreed, if it's mishandled appropriate or inappropriately, meaning you just sign and make a copy, then you're correct.
So one of the things that I've always said that I think is the most clever thing and the most promising of all the crypto stuff is the blockchain. I think that there's a lot of use cases and practical use cases there that will extend and better society in a multitude of ways. And I think that we're starting to understand that more, and we're starting to use it more. So I'm happy to do that. And thank you for breaking down the blockchains of my questions, because I'm trying to learn on this. Like I don't pretend to know a lot about crypto. Like I know just enough to get by at the end of the day. But yeah, so I think that's a big thing. Now, some of the I think a lot of people that's probably listening is they're going to see a lot of like this FTX stuff. They're going to see some of the bad that's happening in the crypto world that I think does outshine, at least in headlines, the good. So talk to me just about what's good about this whole thing. Like, tell me all the good.
Yeah, it's a great question. So as I look at some of the stuff that's happened, what's going to come out of this is regulation, so we can all operate in this space safely and follow a similar guidelines of rules, right? We don't want the Wild West. We want some level of agreement on how we should operate in this model. And there's a couple of things Mastercard has started to do to kind of follow in those footsteps. One is we launched a product called Crypto Source, what this actually does is it works directly with financial institutions, where a consumer could log into their banking app, a trusted party that they already have a connection with, same place they have their bank accounts today, and buy, sell, and hold crypto within those platforms. So for those crypto curious consumers that are interested in getting into the space, not really where to start, Mastercard launched a product called Crypto Source that is focusing on that.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, crypto's original intent was to skirt the regulations. And I think that some of the headline grabbing news lately is a great example of why we have regulations to begin with. Like people that are in these rug pulls where they create these coins, and then they just take the money and they run from selling it, and the coins become worthless, but the founder made a ton of money. But that's the reason that we have banking regulations. So I get that people wanted to try and keep their money off the books. They wanted to keep the tax man away. They wanted their purchases to be hidden in secret. But they always claim they want that until something bad happens to them, and then they cry and they say, why isn't anybody helping me? Well, that's what we were trying to do with regulation. So I think you're right. Like, there's going to have to be a balance.
Well, and also, if you want scalability, you want to bring in the average consumer. The average consumer doesn't want those negative things. They want some level of security.
Yeah.
They want some level of confidence that what they're playing in is safe. So if you actually want to scale something like this and benefit from blockchain technology, this is definitely needed.
Yeah, I think that bringing in legitimate players, I guess I'll just say it, into this space is going to there's going to be offshoots of the things that the people that are a little more risk adverse become playing in it. I think that those things will wind up being a lot more popular in the space, because those are people
Right.
that are using it in a more traditional sense, but they're benefiting from the technology, the underlying technology underneath it, but they're benefiting from the safety and the security of the regulations. And there'll always be those people, I'm sure, that will be slipping shite coins here and there, trying to buy stuff on dark web, those sorts of things. But yeah.
I think another really important trend that I would bring up is, I talked about scalability, but ease of use, right? So if I look at, do I think today that the average consumer is going to get into the space? I think the answer is no. So let's say that when I say into the space, I mean involved in cryptocurrencies, NFTs, benefiting from the benefit of the blockchain technology. I think of no, and the reason I say that is it's not very easy to get into it. So usually you have to create some type of decentralized wallet or sign up for an exchange, purchase cryptocurrency, connect your wallet to different platforms, buy an NFT prior to the networks making some changes. You would have to then buy cryptocurrency, transfer your cryptocurrency to buy the NFTs. It's just cumbersome. Like, you're probably getting lost even listening to me. So it's about simplifying that. So how can anyone log into a platform? Either they connect an existing wallet or one's already created and purchase the item that they want or benefit from technology without all of those steps. So the reason I bring this up as a trend is from an education perspective. You got to make it easier and you got to make it simpler. Do I think that we've made leaps and bounds from where we were? Yes, I do. I think there's still a lot of room to grow. And that's why you see some of these companies coming out, putting out exchange education material. How does this coin work? What is the best way to create a wallet? Because they recognize that this is an important thing to come to get over.
That's a really interesting point. And I think what we're gonna get into the point where we talk about what Mastercard specifically is doing, especially around the education piece there. I will say though that I literally just finished a panel right before we record this. That's why my voice sounds a little shot. It was my second panel in 2 days here at the MRC. I did it on ATOs and what we're seeing in ATOs, some of the emerging things that we're seeing in ATOs, and some of the things that people could do to stop the different types of ATOs that are happening. But one of the partners that was on the panel was a marketplace called Etsy. I think a lot of people are familiar with that, and they have very clever people over there that are doing some really, really clever things around how they approach ATOs and how they approach the customer education piece. And I thought that was super interesting, is that they are spending a lot of time, and a lot of companies are spending a lot of time, as he said, and you see it, of educating end consumers of the risks and the things that they are about to experience. You see it on the Zelle. Are you really meaning to send money? Did someone call you and ask you to send money? Making people aware of the scams that are happening. I think banks are sending out emails more and more and more saying, look for this type of scam. The IRS isn't really calling you and saying to give them 15 Google Play gift cards, And I think that the education piece is where we are in the society. We have so much information, so much social media, so much disinformation being shared everywhere you ever look, that it's sorting it all out and getting your information from these trusted sources can help a lot. And I think a lot of people do have a lot of trust in Mastercard specifically. So seeing education pieces coming from Mastercard could definitely be very helpful. So talk to me.
Yes, So that's an interesting point, right? So when you think of education to a consumer, where does it usually come from? It comes from where that consumer is interacting. So usually consumers aren't interacting directly with Mastercard. So what can we do to better educate our customers to our consumers? And how that works is more from a franchise perspective. And what do I mean by that? So let's call it 18 months ago, if Dave wanted to go buy an NFT with his card, generally speaking, that would mean I had to buy cryptocurrency first with a card, and then go buy the NFT with that cryptocurrency, while the underlying intent was to always buy the NFT. So not the best experience. So how can we make this easier, which aligns with education? We can clarify that our rules are focused on, if someone's buying an NFT, there's no need for that consumer to have cryptocurrency during that purchase. If they're able to buy this NFT directly, code it as the item that it most represents. So what I mean by that is MCC codes. I'm sure some of our listeners know that.
I hope they do.
So if you're buying a digital good for a metaverse game, you are not buying cryptocurrency. You're buying a digital good, so it should be coded as such. So from an education lens, we can adjust our rules and how we operate with our customers, so then they can better educate the consumers directly.
So I think we were talking about the definitions of what some of these things are. And one of them that we didn't define was NFTs. And I think that's something that's come out in the last 2 years. We all have heard about it. We all see Trump cards being sold, NFTs. We see, I know there's people that do dinner party invitations come in NFTs.
Yeah.
And it means non-fungible token, which is fun to say. I think a lot of people make fun of NFTs. You could buy this picture for $16 million like Justin Bieber did of this, the Bored Apes, and then the next week it's worth nothing, and I can right click and then save to hard drive and it's mine too. But that's not the one that's on the ledger, at the end of the day.
Right.
But let's talk about NFTs a little bit, just to back it up and kind of define that, if you could. What is an NFT to Mastercard? What does it mean to you as somebody that lives and breathes in the crypto space?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So as you said, it's a non-fungible token. This is an item that lives on the blockchain, and you hear a variety of different. When someone hears NFTs, to your point, they're usually thinking of some random picture of an ape. And what truly matters and the value is what utility is behind that actual NFT. What's its purpose? I would tell you that for the Bored Ape NFTs, the ones everyone's very familiar with, there's actually a specific utility that comes with that, and it's exclusivity to a specific invite group to connect with other people that own it.
So if I have a Bored Ape NFT, I can go like chat in this group with a bunch of other people that have a bunch of money?
Correct. Now, I'm not going to put a value on that. I'm giving context here. But as I think of other NFTs, other items that live on the blockchain, it all depends the utility behind it. Does this give me pass to the dinner I was just invited? Does this give me access to the dinner I was just invited? Does this act as my passport? Does this act as some proof of authenticity of an item? Is this representing a physical item in the real world that if I burn this NFT, then I can get that real item? So the utility behind the NFT is what actually matters, not just the image of itself.
I think that changes, framing it like that changes the perception of what an NFT is. Because I think so many people only think an NFT is a bullshit picture. But when you attach a value of a physical thing or access, it's just like when I was at Ticketmaster, I would always say, we sell you access to the event. We don't sell you the event, but we sell you access to be in that building experiencing that event. And I guess the same thing is like, this is giving you access to something, as you say, the utility behind it.
Correct. So I want to hit on that access for a little bit. So another very interesting thing for NFTs is, let's say that you go to an event and it is an NFT. You can keep that ticket or NFT. We know people collect tickets. Yeah. This is another way to do that digitally. So there's a variety of different benefits and use cases as it relates to NFT, but like I said, it comes down to the utility that actually lives behind that. I want to talk about gaming for a little bit as it relates to NFTs, because we didn't hit on this. I actually own an NFT that only users with that NFT in their wallet gave them access to a specific game. So these are ways that you can launch
alpha. Is it horse racing?
No, it wasn't horse racing. So this can give you access to alphas, betas, only to a targeted group of individuals that are holding this. Now, we know that items that live on the blockchain are interoperable. You can see who owns them. You can trade them, send them to other people. So I want to put a picture in somebody's head that may be playing games that's listening to this. If you think of any game you've played on a console over the past 15 years and you've spent any amount of money to get items in that game, you know what happens is at the end of you playing that game, you lose all of that content you bought. For games that are putting their items as NFTs, you're able to keep those items, you're able to sell those items, and as games expand, you're able to take those items to other platforms or other games to still leverage them. That doesn't exist today. But there are some Web3 games where that does exist, but that does not exist at scale today.
So, again, I want to play devil's advocate just because these are just thoughts that happen in my head. They might be happening to other people. So, you have that NFT as long as someone hosts that blockchain.
Correct.
So who's hosting the blockchain, and what happens if they want to pack up shop and leave?
Good question. I would, so this isn't my expertise, but I'm going to give my perspective, my personal perspective on how this works. This is a distributed database, distributed tons and tons and tons and tons of time. So you would need all of these databases to go down.
Do they all update at the same time though?
Yes, they do. So it's distributed all at the same time. Anytime that there's an update, it goes to all of them.
Is this okay? That seems like a lot of infrastructure. Do you know anything about that, or is that punching outside crypto belt?
Outside of yeah. So as I said, I got into the space during the pandemic because I saw horse racing.
I do want to talk more about the horse racing, but maybe we should do that over the happy hour, because I'm curious about that, especially how you can like breed and raise horses. But anyway, I think that the blockchain thing is, they call it like forking, right? Is that when they make a new blockchain, or what is that about?
100% outside my space.
So yeah, we kind of touched. So you told me some of the stuff that Mastercard specifically is doing in the crypto space. The reason that you have a job. Anything else that we should know about what Mastercard is up to as we begin to wrap this up, because we do have obligations and happy hours to attend.
Yeah, I guess as I look at it from the whole, Mastercard is focused on providing consumers choice when they're interacting in Web3. We do that in multiple ways, whether it's working directly with exchanges or NFT marketplaces, so that way they can have the option of buying these items with card, or on the reverse side, if they have cryptocurrency, stablecoin, CBDCs, and they want to be able to spend that at the several locations that Mastercard's accepted, enable them with a crypto card that can enable to do that. So it's about providing consumers choice, how they want to pay, how they want to spend. And that's really, I'd look at it from a high level.
Do you think that this is going to help speed up banking? Because I think a lot of our complaints are, take several days to move money around, and I think that's legacy infrastructure there, and it seems like this was trying to kind of make it more of an instantaneous thing. And then Zelle was trying to help on the fiat currency with that, but Zelle's having its own set of problems and volatilities.
Good question. What I would tell you is that the underlying technology of money remittances, especially for cross-border use cases, definitely can get benefits from the blockchain from that. There's companies that are actually solely focused in this. So 100% I do believe that the blockchain will benefit the speed up of money movement between banks, between entities, by leveraging the blockchain.
Do you think it could help us mitigate FX and currency? Because basically, at the end of the day, like in theory, once you get it into crypto, it's one currency.
Yeah, and as we talked about this earlier, there's a variety of digital currencies. So you're talking stablecoins, CBDCs, volatile cryptocurrencies.
What's a stablecoin?
So to answer your question, the way that I would answer that is that banks, P2P, anyone that needs to transfer money cross-border is going to get the benefit of blockchain to transfer money through cross-border remittances. What are those benefits? That's going to be speed, that could be cost, a variety of things. To answer your question for stablecoin, so stablecoin is a digital currency that is backed by something instead of just a volatile cryptocurrency. Let's use an example of USDC.
It's like gold coin or gold standard that we used to have.
It could be. So USDC is something that's backed 1-for-1 for the US dollar. So every one USDC that exists, there is $1 set aside that you can validate that there is a dollar set aside, and then now you have one USDC. You also have USD. There's also gold-backed stablecoins. So let's say the current price of gold is like 1,600, 1,800.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Asking the wrong guy.
I live in this current century.
So you could buy one stablecoin of gold. There's a variety of them out there, and for every ounce that someone owns, there is an ounce of gold sitting there that's backed up by that. So generally, high-level stablecoins is something that's backed by either a commodity.
But if you tie something like to a precious metal like that, like I mean the gold rush of the '90s, when everybody was got to buy gold to get on the late night TV. But if you have a coin that's tied directly to the gold, it's pretty much just gold, isn't it? Like it's just like it's an NFT for gold at the end of the day, right?
I guess the question then becomes, isn't digital payments the same thing as cash, right? So there's benefits of being on the blockchain. There's benefits of doing digital payments. And that's why I'd say, yes, physical gold, it's the same thing as having one.
Like that coin should be the same price as the price of gold.
It is. If you match it up, it is. It's the same price of gold, except for it lives on the ledger. You can prove who owns it, and you can sell or trade it without me having to ship an ounce of gold to you. I could transfer it over the blockchain.
If I want to look at it and like touch it and like polish it, put it in my
then
safe so I can get robbed.
You can go redeem it and get the gold.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Who's holding this gold?
So there's a variety of companies, but if you think of a stable coin, one USDC, you can go to exchanges and convert that for one USD. So that's how it works. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes me feel a little bit better. I was a big fan of the gold standard. I wasn't alive when we were on it, but I know that inflation was a lot different back then. So this has been really beneficial to me. We're going to kind of wrap up because, like I said, we do have to get back to some of the parties. Talk to me. I always do the 3 takeaways. So what are 3 of the things that are important to you right now?
In order for us to get the benefit of this technology, remittances, NFTs and the utilities that live behind them, it comes down to education and ease of use, which are 2. And I just want to highlight an example. If I were to launch an NFT project and I required that everyone get a specific wallet and a specific currency, digital currency, let's assume, I'm immediately limiting my audience because the vast majority of people don't know how to do that. So as consumers, businesses move into the space, be thoughtful on the approach. Some of this stuff can be automated. You can provide choice to consumers when they pay, whether they want to pay with cryptocurrency, whether they want to pay with fiat. Fiat being a government issued currency like the US dollar, the British pound, the euro, etc. So it comes down to ease of use, education to the consumers of the benefits, the downsides, the risks, how to operate in the space, and being thoughtful when moving into the space.
So, quick question, just because I'm thinking, like I kind of touched on it a little bit ago, but it's still lingering in my mind. As from on a payments acceptance side, so obviously, as an e-commerce merchant at iHerb, we take payments, and then we take payments in a variety of currencies because we're in 188 countries, and we settle those in specific types of currencies. We pay FX. We transfer that back to euros, US dollars, depending on which settlement bank we're using. In theory, could I?
I'm intrigued.
Well, I hope I don't just like change the whole world right now. What can I do? But what if I was to buy a coin in that local currency and then sell that coin for the desired currency? Technically, I don't have to pay FX, right?
So I've no idea whether you need to pay FX or not, but what I would say is in each of the countries, whether a stablecoin exists in that country or not, the main stablecoin that exists today is backed by the U.S. dollar.
But what if I wanted to use like a non-backed coin? I'm doing this like instantly. Like I'm talking this is happening in seconds. Like I buy this coin and then I sell this coin. I buy it.
Well, there's going to be costs associated with that, right?
Like what, gas fees or whatever, right?
Well, it depends where you're buying.
Fees?
Yes, it depends where you're buying the coin, and then also the volatility associated with that.
Either way, there's an exchange fee, whether it's foreign exchange or it's coin exchange. I'm paying an exchange fee. So that just kind of makes my whole point there.
Well, and then I'm also thinking like, what's the benefit of you doing that? Is it to avoid something specifically?
Well, I was just trying to see if there's a way that we could, like FX, like people are paying, 10, 50, even 100 basis points on these exchanges. So like if there's a way that we could leverage currency for changing leverage cryptocurrency for changing between fiat currencies, actual currency types, it could be something that could be beneficial for on an enterprise level, if that makes sense. So give me two more quick ones here, and then I'm starting to get thirsty. So,
I just provided you two.
Okay.
Education, ease of use.
I'll let you get away with one more because you got the cocktail eyes too.
What is the key? What is my final key takeaway? Be interested. So as I mentioned,
be untrusted.
No, be interested.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Be interested. So as I look at my career path, I started in payments. As Jordan said, it wasn't I woke up one day and said I wanted to be in payments. It's where I landed, but then I got interested. I shifted from technology over into so understanding the data behind payments, but not really truly understanding payments. Moved over to the business world where I was on the fraud side, which is where I had the benefit of meeting Jordan, and then got even more interested on TikTok. Got intrigued by a new technology I knew nothing about. And now I've been involved in it for just under 2 years, and I plan to stay here a while. So not necessarily around crypto, but more Dave's life lesson.
So one last question from me.
Please.
Did you get to name the horses?
Yes, you did. So whenever you would breed a horse, they would always be titled as unnamed horse when you got them. And then you got to go add the name. It's stored in the metadata on the blockchain. And we can actually look up some of them later, and I'll show you some of the horses that I named.
They were inappropriate, weren't they?
No, it was things like St. Louis Cardinals or different sports teams' names, or horse names that I heard in TV shows like the Peaky Blinders.
That's very, very, very interesting.
But you did get a name of. Once their name though, you couldn't change the name. So if
so it's on the blockchain. That's the horse's name forever.
Correct.
So you gotta make sure you spelled it right.
Yes. It's just like when you buy a domain.
That's funny. Well, thank you very much for taking the time away from the conference to have a little chat with me. Hopefully our memory card was stable through this, and the listener would have no idea that there was any technical difficulties that we experienced while in this room, but we're back up. Thank you again, like I said, for giving me your time, trying to explain some crypto. I know it's kind of a quick little episode in and out, everybody, but I'll encourage you to go ahead and read more about Mastercard's crypto division. If you have any documentation, give it to me. I'll make sure that it's in the description. I'm going to put your email and your phone number in the description too, so people could just give you a text message there. And I answer all their questions.
I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm always happy to talk about Web3, especially someone that I've known for several years. So happy to do it, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to visit my friends at Spec, who just happen to be this quarter's sponsors. Their patented Trust Cloud platform can help you orchestrate the future of your fraud and payments journey through a quick and easy no-code implementation. It's really quite impressive. See it for yourself at www.specprotected.com today and ask for a demo on your very own site. Thanks again for listening.